Hey, what's up, guys? This is Christian. I'm here with two of my good friends from Momentum, or the guys hosting HCON is coming up in August. Uh, Jonathan Yang and Lewis. I met the guys. I met Jonathan a while back when I first launched Refuge, and reached out to Jonathan. And since then, we've just been in contact for a long while. I just recently met Lewis, but it's great to meet him and be able to have these guys both on the show. Thanks for coming out, man.
Well, thanks, Christian, for having us. It's good to be on this side of the seat. I'm used to being on the other side,
Yeah.
and it's just refreshing that I don't have to think of questions, and now I can just I can just answer them. So I look forward to it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out. So let's jump right in. So tell us a little bit about who you both are, like how you guys got to where you guys are. I'm looking for like comic book origin, like a Spider-Man origin story, like how you got to where you guys are, and and then talk about how you guys got into Momentum and HCON.
You want to share first a little bit?
Okay, I'll start off and you can continue.
Yeah.
So Jonathan and I, we go back to our college days. We went to University of California, Davis. So I met him freshman year. He's always been a big, visionary kind of dreamer person, always, wanting to change the world somehow, shaker and mover of things. And so it was later on in our college years that I don't exactly remember when, but he pitched to me some idea like, oh, I want to, do something for the Hmong people. He asked me, if I wanted to help out. He asked me like if I knew anything about WordPress, like what technical, skills I knew to help out.
I think this was our senior year in college, something like that.
Senior in college, yeah, later on in
It was
college.
at Temescal, right?
I think so, yeah, his old apartment.
Temescal, yeah.
How did you guys meet though?
Well, we met freshman year in college.
Yeah.
We went to the same church together.
Gotcha.
And so that's how we met. It was
Gotcha.
through a college a Christian fellowship.
Gotcha.
And well, I don't remember. I usually remember the first time meeting people, but I don't remember. It must have been one of the Bible studies, one of the outreach events.
Yeah.
Must have been something like that. And then we were just in the same home group, life group together. And
Awesome.
that's how our friendship started. And then the business side came later. I mean, this was never planned.
Yep.
As a freshman, I was en route to go to grad school. He was gonna do computer science. And
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. So what about you, Jonathan? How did you get into like, this is what I want to be able to manifest, or this is like what I want to be able to create, like Momentum, HCON?
Yeah.
How did that all come about, like in your head?
Well, I think the particulars of Momentum and HCON. I mean, that is really a recent development.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't. The HCON, Momentum, Hmongments, Shareable moments, all this kind of stuff. It's really recent. I mean, the past year and a half really. But I always knew that. I guess a lot of it started kind of implicitly back in high school. I went to high school in Fresno, grew up in Fresno, and so I attended a lot of higher education conferences. I don't know. I'm sure you guys have a lot here in Minnesota. In Fresno, we had a lot of higher education conferences promoting higher education.
Sure.
A lot of Hmong professionals come and talk, and
Yep.
so I attended a lot of those as a high school student. And I just always loved hearing the speaker stories. Like I was always fascinated more with the personal side, so more than the information. Because sometimes they'll have guest speakers come and they'll say, okay, you need the A to G requirements to go to college, ACT, SATs, LSATs for law school, MCATs for med schools, and I'm like, I could find that out online,
Yeah.
But what I was more interested in is like, why did you do law particularly, and not this thing? What kept you going? Or you're a single mother and you went to college and grad school. Like, how did that work? And so I've always just had that interest with people's story from high school. And then I guess take that, combine that with my undergraduate major of philosophy, just sharpening my ability to ask questions. I like relish in like hard conversations. Like as a philosophy major, they really teach you how to answer questions, tough questions, And so I just really like that kind of stuff. I wanted to be a lawyer. I'm glad I didn't though, but that's always the kind of world that I've been in. I love communication. I love talking. At high school, I just fell in love with speeches, public speeches, and so. But sometime in college, you know, just that shaped the way I thought, shaped the way that I kind of knew what I wanted, or shaped what I wanted to do. And then kind of fast forward a little bit, I got into digital marketing just accidentally through work. And just that combined with a little bit of courage, I said, you know what? I've always wanted to have a conference, like a TED Talk conference with people talking, right? I've always wanted to see young Hmong people on a stage just speaking as eloquently and as articulately as Mika people or other people, right? So there's no reason Hmong people can't just be powerful public speakers. And so I said, well, why don't we put a stage together, bring the best young people who have amazing stories and have them share that. And that's what we did last year at HCON. Just amazing speakers on the stage, and then that's what we're doing this year. And so it's very accidental, you know, one thing led to another. Again, a lot of it just started with my fascination with speech and talking and stories, but HCON is itself really recent development. Yeah.
Gotcha. So most of like what you kind of set up is more like geared towards a little bit towards students, but also the more I think you're kind of moving towards the digital marketing space, content creation space.
Yeah.
Because you kind of brought in students, and then you're kind of showing them, okay, these are some people that are
Yeah.
doing great things, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think that you guys took that route instead of like maybe more business professionals?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
the more traditional type of stuff. Why do you think that this is kind of the direction you guys are taking?
It's a great question. Great question. And there's a personal reason, and then there's a practical reason. The personal reason is I just love students. You know, I mean, I live in a college town at Davis. It's a college town. It's heavy college oriented. I mean, college for both of us is a really formative time. You know, I mean, that's how we met. That's where a lot of my worldview was formed, a lot of my thinking, a lot of my values. I got married during college. So, I mean, 18 to 23 were just really formative years of my life, and I know that they're very formative for a lot of people. And so there's just a real personal resonance to college in that time. And so that's just, whether it's HCON, entrepreneurship, or whatever, I would still be doing something related to college students, right? Whether it's promoting higher education or promoting grad school or helping them get better grades, whatever it would be, I think I would somehow still be connected with college students. So that's sort of, a baseline, right? Is that I knew I'm really passionate about young college students, and entrepreneurship, again, was more accidental, That just kind of came later, because I just sort of fell in that world, and then I became really interested in that, and then and I kind of attached that onto the college side. So it's really students that I'm really passionate about. Again, entrepreneurship. It could be entrepreneurship, could be education, could be personal development, or whatever. But the practical reason for that is, and this is one thing that I hope to articulate to businesses, which is college students are a great untapped resources to build momentum, right? The belief of Hmongmentum is that I want to build momentum in the Hmong community by investing in young people. And I think college students are a group that they have a lot of passion, a lot of energy. They're very idealistic. They're not yet jaded yet with life, thankfully. I mean, they I talk to, it's funny, as I've been doing HCON, older people who have gone through, the early days of like H&D, the early days of the Hmong conferences, and they would tell me, they'll be like, yeah, what you're doing is cool, but it's gonna be so hard. Like, oh, you'll never do this, you'll never do that, or this, that, and they have good intentions, but there's a real sense of jadedness, like, their outlook on what is possible is really shaped by kind of what they've done. And it's a different world, digital media, they didn't have that at the time, and so it's really different how we communicate. And so young people, I think they are real kind of unmolded clay. They can do a lot of things if people believe in them, if people lead them, right? And so I think the amount of momentum that we built with HCON is evident with us focusing on college students, because when we did doing our student sponsorship, not only have we gotten student sponsors, but now we have an equal amount of professionals who sponsor these students who are now on board with what we do. So not only do we have 100 student sponsors, but we have 100 plus sponsors who are working professionals, right? And so now not only do I have 100 students that we're serving, but we have 100 people who are behind us, with what we're doing. And so we've been able to sort of maximize, 2 times our reach, not just students, but people sponsoring the students. And so that was that again was really accidental. I didn't foresee that. I actually came into HCON exactly how you talked about the business side. I was telling Lewis, I tell a lot of people, I came into the first HCON thinking I was going to do, really heavy sales stuff, right? It was going to be, sales funnels, sales tactics, really giving them the value and why you need to purchase a ticket, right? That's what I thought I was going to do. But I found that the Hmong community were just much more willing to give $500 so that 5 students can go versus them paying $100 for them to go, which is really strange,
Yeah.
It's really weird. Like,
I think that's awesome.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so I took the money. I'm like, I need the money to pay for this thing. So I went, okay, more people want to see students go. They're willing to pay for students to go. So I took the route that would help fund the event. And so
Gotcha.
again, it could have gone either way, but
Yep.
the students is just that's a lot of where the practical things came from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
understandable. So talk about a little bit more. Like, I mean, obviously, like students are super important.
Yeah.
That's a, like you said, untapped area.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit more about, like, you started HCON. There's a lot of other conferences out there.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
do people want to go to HCON, and what separates HCON from, like, different conferences
Yeah,
and stuff like that?
that's another good question. We were actually having coffee with somebody right before this, and that question came
popped
up. Yeah, and so I'm prepared for that one.
Sure.
Well, one thing I would say is, and this isn't to sound arrogant or to sound conceited, and this in many ways can be interpreted badly, which is that there really isn't another HCON out there, right? So, that also means there's a lot of unknown, right? I mean, J4 tournaments, right? Soccer teams. There's predictability. People are going to go to the tournaments. People can go to New Year's. People are going to watch these events. There's some predictability. H&D. You know that you have a lot of data to sort of predict what's going to happen next. But with HCON, it's a really big unknown. I mean, we have 1 year, and it turned out decent. Here's our second year. We don't really know what's going to happen. We don't have a lot of history. And so there's not a lot of data to analyze for people to kind of either sponsor, get involved, or to buy tickets for, right? So because we're so new, because we're so unique, I think there is a sense of uncertainty. However, though, I do think there is a sense of I would say a breath of fresh air, in the sense that I'm not trying to do a lot. In the sense that I think what separates us from other similar conferences, if there are any similar conferences, or at least Hmong conferences, which is that I'm very intentional and I'm very explicit that I'm not trying to service everyone. I think there's a mentality or a temptation being Hmong to sort of represent all of what Hmong people feel like, lest you not be considered Hmong, right? I think that, because I've been reached by so many people, like older people, who say, well, this is nice and all, but why don't you have so-and-so speak? Why don't you have this person speak? Why don't you have this representative, right?
Yep.
But they don't match the vision. They don't match the story I'm trying to tell. It's not that they're bad. It's not that it's not valuable. It's just not in line with what I'm trying to do. And so I'm really explicit about that, and I'm really intent on, making it narrow and potent in that sense. And so in that way, I think it's a little different. And a lot of people tell me, like, yeah, this is really good. It's different, and it's unique in that sense. So I'm not afraid to tell people no. Like, I'm not going to go that direction. I'm not going to do that because that's not my vision. And so I think that will attract some. It'll definitely turn away others, but I'm okay with that.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, that's awesome, man. And I think that, you having your vision set and you making sure that, the message that you guys get out there is, what you want to get out there, right? I think that's awesome. Louis, talk a little bit about, like, I mean, you were at the first HCON, right? Of course. Talk a little bit about, like, some of the challenges you guys faced at the first HCON, and then, some of the things you guys are adjusting for the second HCON now,
That's a good question. So, for the the first HCON, there were a lot of things that we did not know, right? We did not know how many people were going to come. We didn't know. So then we didn't know what venue we wanted to get, right? Because if we knew we had like 200 people, then we had a venue that size.
Right, exactly.
And then we know how much money that we could spend. And so there was just a lot of unknowns. We didn't know how many sponsorships we were going to get, how many tickets we were going to sell. So a lot of things, to be honest, came together last minute. There was a lot of last minute planning, logistics, figuring out who's speaking on which time slot. So a lot of the challenges were just that because it's the first one, it's so new.
Yep.
Just a lot of uncertainty.
For sure. Yeah.
And so we had to just kind of work with what we have and just figure out stuff from there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Jonathan can speak to other challenges also. But for the second HCON, it's the first thing that you do. It's always going to be the hardest, right? The first time you do something, it's always going to be the hardest. And
Sure.
usually it just gets easier because you've gone through it once.
Been there before.
Yeah, you've been there before. You know kind of what to expect.
Yeah.
You might have like different variables, more
Mhm.
people, different speakers, different venue. You have to camp for different things, but you've already gone through it once. So
Gotcha.
just the first time was challenging because of that. Second time was a little bit easier now.
Cool. Talk a little bit about how you guys kind of complement each other. I know Jonathan's more the visionary. You're probably more the practical type of individual, but I don't know exactly. Talk a little bit about how your partnership has been able to kind of help you guys grow HCON and things like that.
I think I know what Jonathan would say to this.
Yeah.
He says stuff. Jonathan will say stuff like, "I make a lot of noise on social media." Or,
That I do, right? Or
yeah,
you
no,
do.
you do.
Yeah.
He posts a lot of stuff. I'm sure my feed on Facebook is flooded with his stuff right now.
Yeah.
And he says stuff. He can get a lot of people's attention. Right.
Mhm.
I'm definitely not that kind of guy. Right. I mean, first off, I'm not even Hmong, so
Yeah.
even if I wanted to, that'd just be kind of weird.
There's the perfect combination. You gotta
Yeah.
get the Taiwanese guy.
Yeah.
involved.
So yeah, I just help out with various things with like. So I still have a full-time job, right?
Sure.
So I'm
Yeah.
kind of limited in my
Yeah.
bandwidth.
Yeah.
I wish I could help out more,
Yeah.
but I just can't do as much as I would like.
Mhm.
So I help out with more of the background stuff. So for the HCON, I helped out with a lot of the video, the audio, the AV stuff, renting cameras, figuring out where to put them, place them,
Mhm.
making sure we have good video, good sound that we could use to capture all that.
The guy behind all the noise, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, I'm usually the guy behind the camera, so being
Yeah.
in front of the camera, it's
Yeah.
it's a little different.
That's needed, I think, though. I think you guys have a great partnership. Jonathan gets to be, kind of like the showman, but you get to be kind of like, making sure that Jonathan is seen out there in the right ways, making sure that everything's kind of put together in the right ways too. And I think you guys complement each other pretty well, from what I've seen.
Yeah, we'll see how how it goes. But I mean, we said this the other night at our meet and greet, which is he analogizes me to the face of momentum, and if that's true, then Lewis is the backbone of momentum, right?
Sure.
Which is you can't have you can't have a structure without a foundation, or it's the infrastructure. And so Lewis has played that in many parts, and I think just for me, again, I tell everybody that the impetus for me starting this was the loneliness I felt, right? And Lewis being a partner in this, a listening ear, really gave me sanity through it all, right? Because any entrepreneur knows that you will go insane in your own mind
Yep.
because you have super cynical thoughts with a hyperactive imagination, and that's gonna just make your cynical thoughts even more crazy,
Yep.
and then you're just gonna go crazy. And so
Yeah.
if you don't have an additional person to give you feedback, to just say, hey, that doesn't sound right, or that's not right, or that is right, you needed someone else to kind of be
Sure.
see your blind spots.
Sure.
You're gonna, I think, really burn out. So Lewis played that immensely well. I mean, he's super patient. He's super great at listening, and he gives me a lot of space to just share what I need to. And he has the longest patience I've ever seen in a human being. I don't think I could have worked with anyone else who would have not quit by now. It's like, I can't handle your craziness. You're just too
Yeah.
crazy. And so in
Yeah.
that sense, his capacity to handle my annoyingness has been amazing.
Yeah, I think what you guys doing is awesome, man, and I love you guys' partnership. Talk a little bit more about like let's go a little bit practical here. So, talk a little bit about like how you guys kind of grew from 0 to
Yeah.
whatever you guys
Yeah.
are at now,
Yeah.
and how you guys are kind of getting the word out about what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I really want to talk about that because I think that's something that that's one of the things that I hope to share through my story,
Yeah.
which is I really want people to know that I'm not anybody. Okay, like I don't have like there aren't any. If you look at my story, there I don't think you would find a particular trigger that says that's why they're doing something successful. Like I don't come from a family of businessmen or entrepreneurs, or I mean I'm not trained in this way.
Yeah.
I didn't like hang around entrepreneurs, you know. So if you were to look at my like educational background or my professional background, you would think, oh, he's just gonna be a good professional in a cubicle somewhere or
Sure.
something like that, you
Sure.
know. So there really isn't any prediction that this happened, and it you know, literally November of 2016, $0 to Hmongmentum LLC, nothing to our name, and what started it all was I said, and we were just talking about this earlier, which is that I sometime in the first week of November, you know, had the idea of HCON. We were promoting it a little bit, and I said, hey, I have some students that want to attend HCON. Is there anybody that would like to help them pay for their admission, right? Because they can't afford it. Something like that. I can go back and find the post. And within a matter of minutes, my life changed because I got one message that says, I'll sponsor a student. And then I got another message that says, I'll sponsor 2 students. And then they gave me money. They just gave me money through PayPal or through Stripe, and I was just like, whoa, okay, well, I don't know these people, and they gave me money, and then I got a little bit more bold. I said, okay, I have other students. Would other people like to sponsor these students? And more people responded. They commented, they messaged me, and I'll be honest, Christian, I have no idea what happened. Like I didn't do anything magical. I just put that post, and I don't know what happened on the other end, but people just started to say, yeah, I'll help out, I'll help out. And that first day, this is the first week of November, we raised $2,500 that first day. And I was at work, and I remember I couldn't even do my work. I was just on Facebook the whole time, like responding to people and just talking to people and answering questions and getting kids sponsored. And so the first day we raised $2,500. Second day we raised another $2,500. 2 days, $5,000. By the end of November, we had $10,000. And that's how we were able to raise the money we needed to have HCON. If we didn't have that, we wouldn't have. I don't think we would have had the ability to do HCON. Once that first day happened, we didn't even book the room yet. It was just an idea. I just had a vision of this place for young people, and I just said, anybody want to help a student go? And that first day, $2,500, and then I do you remember that day?
Yeah. You called me multiple times
It was
at work.
Yeah, it was just blew my mind. I remember we got 500, and like 500 was a lot. That's a lot of money. And then we reached 1,000 and 25. It was just crazy. And so up to date right now, you know, through student sponsorships, we're probably close to like 20,000 that we've raised since the first HCON in crowdfunding. And so practically, you know, we just, a lot of people were just giving money through PayPal. I did have a checkout page that I used, something called Cognito Forms, where people can fill out, tap to a Stripe account that people can put in their credit cards. People also sent money through Venmo or Facebook Pay. And I think the one thing that I want to say about perhaps what allowed people to give so much is there's something about being Hmong. I don't know how to describe it, but there's just this trust, you know, that people have. And I think people felt like it wasn't like a business transaction, right? I think people felt like, here's like my younger brother, or here's like my nephew or my son, and I just want to help him out. You know, I think that's what people felt like. And I felt like that. Like, these are just my family members and my big Hmong family, and they're just coming together to support me and support other Hmong people. And so it really felt like that. I think that's what gave so much power, because I talk to other people who are not Hmong, and they're like, this could never happen in the Korean community, the Taiwanese community,
I was just gonna say
or
that.
something like that.
I think that's exactly right, man. I think the Hmong people I think everybody has a way of like just being connected, and when they see someone winning or doing well or wanting to do well, they're willing to support them. You know, they're definitely more open to supporting them right off the bat. You know, so, and I think, you know, you saying that you just were kind of surprised at what happened. I think that think you're missing the part where you're putting out valuable content. You know, where you're doing those interviews and your podcasts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think that led to people
Yeah.
finding out who you
Yeah.
are and understanding that you are on a mission to
Yeah.
put out valuable content
Yeah.
for people to be able to learn from
Yeah.
and to inspire others.
Yeah.
And I think that leads to you obviously raising enough money.
That's a good point. Yeah, and I think
to
that's
do what you're
something
doing.
that I probably overlooked a little bit, which is that up to that point I was creating content for about 6 months or so.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I did have content out there.
Yep.
A lot of people did know me from my page Shareable Hmongments, so
Yep.
that definitely helped. I think it definitely helped. I will say that what surprised me this year
Yep.
is there's been a lot of people who has given money who has never heard of me. Now that's interesting.
Yeah.
See, because you're right. When I first did it, it made sense to me. Okay, people see my show,
Yep.
they see my face, so there's some trust there. But this year, I think what's really helped us this year has been the social validation of people sharing and people saying, "Can you help out?"
Yep.
That has been something that I just didn't quite utilize last year because everything was just so new.
Mhm.
But this year, I think people were more confident and more willing to share my post and say, "This is Jonathan Yang. He's doing X, Y, and
For
Z. Can you please help
For sure.
help out?" And
Yeah.
I think that was really powerful too.
For sure.
Yeah.
Lewis, can you talk a little bit about like what your reaction to all of this is? I mean, this guy, he's like going crazy over here, seeing like all the money, all the funding come in to be able to help, build HCON. What about your reaction?
I was surprised, right?
Yeah.
Before the first HCON happened, I didn't know that much about the Hmong people, the Hmong community.
Sure.
Later on, I found out they're a really tight-knit group, right?
Yeah.
They're really willing to support.
Mhm.
So, I was just taken aback and surprised. I'm like, because I've known Jonathan, right? We've gone through, college together. We,
Yeah.
just,
Yep.
we've eaten and hung out together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then
We went to Taiwan together.
Oh yeah, we went to
We
Taiwan.
went on a Taiwan
Wow,
mission
okay.
trip together.
Yeah.
To his homeland. So
Yeah.
I got a chance to discover Taiwanese
Yeah.
culture. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I knew him, but yeah, it's just kind of jarring the first time he said it. I was just really taken aback,
Yeah.
really surprised. I'm like, oh, you raised what? How much? Like,
Yeah.
how did that happen?
Mhm.
And then he told me, okay, now we actually have to put on HCON because
Yep.
people gave us money,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And my initial reaction, I was just really surprised and shocked.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. I want to help Jonathan out.
Mhm.
Put on this conference. I think there's a lot of potential for this to help the Hmong community, especially the Hmong young adults.
For sure.
So it's really cool.
Awesome, man. I think what you guys are doing is great. I think I just said that a couple times, but great. So let's get a little bit more. This is kind of like my favorite part of the show, which is a little bit more personal. So talk a little bit more about aside from HCON and all that tough stuff. Talk a little bit more about what you guys are obsessed with, like things you're seeing out there that you guys are obsessed with. Like for me, give an example. I don't know if you guys have seen the Shiggy dance.
Oh yeah, I've
With
seen
the
the
Drake song?
challenge.
Yeah, right. So I'm like, whenever I see video, I'm like, okay, let me see who's doing it next and stuff like that. I think the guy behind it is super smart and he's just super funny too. And I think that's something that it's kind of like I'm just looking out for to see like I think you were talking about yesterday. You put out one video and then that could change your whole life pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Yeah.
what happened to him.
Right.
Right. He put out that video and then boom, overnight a bunch of people are just doing the same thing
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So talk about a little bit more about what you guys are kind of obsessed with out there.
I see. In terms of these trends or
Whatever, another example would be right now I'm really interested in shirts and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and seeing these different streetwear or casual wear shirts and stuff like that. I'm trying to get my hands on a couple of them
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So just
I mean,
in general.
there's a lot I could a lot. I could talk a lot. I can continue in the category of digital marketing, but maybe I could give our listeners a little bit more breadth about what my interests are. I have a wide range of interests.
Sure.
I'm really interested in a lot of things. If people really get to know me, they know I'm really fascinated with a lot of things, and I like to follow current events and politics and things like that. And I recently, I've just been really interested in the judicial politics with the Supreme Court.
Sure.
And the empty seat that Justice Anthony Kennedy left as he retires, and the empty vacancy in the Supreme Court, and then President Trump, nominating somebody. And so, again, this is no political statements, but just the if there's a branch of government that I'm most fascinated with, it's the judicial branch. I
Yep.
just love. There's something about the decorum and the tradition and the process of law and judges that, I'm a philosophy major, so I can really appreciate rigidity and logic and formalities, and I think our judiciary and law, I mean, that's just the most cognate discipline to philosophy. That's why I wanted to go into law for such a long time, and I think, if you look at the executive branch or the legislative branch, I mean, I think I just can't get, they're not that intellectually deep, as opposed to debating constitutional philosophy or judicial philosophy or things like that. So I like to nerd out on that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Like I really like if people look at my my YouTube favorites, I have a lot of just lectures, and I listen to a lot of talks. I listen to a lot of these public intellectuals talking about these stuff. So I'm a very heady intellectual guy. I like to do that kind of stuff. I could just binge watch these kinds of talks all the time, and so I'm obsessed with with kind of like these HCON things, but in a really academic, intellectual form as well. So I'm always looking out for interesting public intellectuals talking about interesting stuff. Whether it's related to current events, whether it's related to science and religion or philosophy or theology or whatever, and I think that shapes a lot of my entrepreneurship kind of views as well.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I'm really obsessed with these kinds of intellectual,
Gotcha.
heady kind of things, which is boring for a lot of people.
No,
Your audience right now would just click. They turned out. I'm sorry.
Everybody has their own, What about you, Louis?
I have a lot of interests. Growing up, I did all kinds of things. I went through a juggling phase. I did gymnastics. I did
Sure.
kung fu.
What about right now, though?
Yeah. So that still kind of characterizes me right now. I just have a lot of
Gotcha.
interests.
Gotcha.
A lot of my time is just
He
spent.
is tone perfect.
Oh,
He has pitch
I have perfect. Pitch.
Perfect pitch.
Really?
What that means is like if I knock on anything, it makes a sound. It's a certain pitch. I can tell what pitch it
You
is.
tell any pitch perfectly.
Gotcha. That's crazy.
Yeah, so one thing, I've been playing piano for a really long time. I'm
Yeah.
glad I stuck with it. A lot
Yep.
of Asian kids, their parents want them to learn an
For sure.
instrument,
Yep.
and then they get sick and tired of it, they just quit, right?
Yeah.
So I love playing piano. I was looking, there's a lot of YouTube covers, piano covers of various songs.
For
I'm
sure.
like, I should have jumped on this, years ago. I could have totally done that. I probably would have been,
I think
famous
you
on
still
YouTube.
can. There's always new
can't.
songs,
Okay,
So,
yeah. My dream job for the longest time, I wanted to play a keyboard, play piano for a big musical, like Broadway or something. But all that's on hold with
You should put him on for HCON. Be
Yeah.
special guest.
Yeah.
But yeah, so recently, because with HCON coming, I kind of just get interested in whatever I need to learn.
Yeah.
So I've been looking at a lot of like photography stuff, videography, looking at just watching reviews of various cameras.
Yeah.
Always trying to improve the
Yep.
skills that I have.
For sure.
So I mean, I don't have that much extra time. I wish I did. The other thing I'm really interested in is this might sound kind of funny, but I watch chiropractor videos kind of for fun.
Really? Yeah.
It's just
To do or to receive the chiropractic.
I've only been to a chiropractor once.
Yeah.
Because it was free.
Yep.
But I maybe in some alternate universe I would be at like a chiropractor school.
Yep.
And eventually become a chiropractor.
Yep.
I just like kind of because there's these chiropractors. There's people like who can barely walk and they go see these chiropractors, and it's almost like magic. They're like
Yeah.
healed. I mean, it's not every case is like that, but I just
Yep.
was like, this is really cool.
Cool.
So yeah, that's just one thing I've been
Gotcha.
looking at recently.
That's awesome, man. I mean, you guys have very different obsessions, but I think they're great, man. Everybody has their own, So let's talk a little bit more about like, I mean, I'm pretty sure I can answer this for you guys, but what are you guys like focused on right now?
In terms of the business.
Yeah, or just in general, what are you guys focused on?
Well, there's a lot of ways I can answer. I think I'll give a high level answer, and then it'll form the practical answer, which is, I think I'm 26 right now.
Sure.
We're both 26,
Yep.
right? So 26, almost 30. In my 20s, what I want to focus on, what I am focusing on, is I'm married. I have a dog. I don't have kids yet, and I'm trying my best. Probably not my best, but I'm trying to really make as many mistakes and to really just take any of these desires I've had either as a kid or as a young adult and say, you know what, let me see if I can make that happen.
Yeah.
And I'm in my 20s right now where I don't have that much responsibilities. I have a good amount, but I don't have kids yet, or I don't have a mortgage to pay, or I don't have things like that. So I'm in a position where, like most young people, is to make a lot of mistakes and to make a lot of failures, and to just try to get the things that I want. I was really inspired by this book by Jia Jiang. He wrote this book, 90 Days of Rejection. He gave this TED Talk on it, and I recommend everybody to read that book. And essentially what he did is for 90 days, he actively went out to look for rejection. So like one day he'll ask a random stranger for $100. And they just get no. It's okay, that's fine. And one day he'll go to a neighbor's house and say, "Can I plant this plant in your yard?" Some people say yes, some people say no. And the point of all that was for him to sort of desensitize himself to rejection. And he made all these interesting observations, which was, you will be surprised in life of what you can actually get and receive if you just ask for it. And that's exactly what I've learned in the 9 to 12 months that we've been doing HCON. I could tell you this with a straight face. If I died right now, I would be really satisfied with just sort of what I've done. I don't really need to be a Fortune 500 company making $1 million. Ever since college, I've always wanted to talk in front of a large crowd. I've done that. I did that at the first HCON. I've always wanted to interview certain people, like Mayor Steve Lee of Elk Grove. I did, and I'm good friends with him. I've always wanted to bring young people together on a stage. I've done that. Now I don't know how big the impact is. I don't. History will tell. But just as a matter of me being able to want something and then ask for it and then make it happen, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I'm really satisfied. I'm really happy with that. And I already know there are a handful of kids who are really impacted by that, and that's really enough for me. And so, what I'm really focused on right now is just, in that sense, I'm really just trying to just say, wow, okay, what more can I do? Can I make this happen? Can I make that happen?
Yep.
And just try to see, what can I do, just do trial and error to make that happen. And so that really shapes momentum, the decisions I make, and everything I'm making is really just an experiment. I don't know, if HCON will continue to last. I don't know if it's going to be a different thing, but I'm just really trying to focus on making a lot of mistakes, impacting people, and just getting to know more young entrepreneurs.
Yeah, awesome.
That's a very good question. For me, I think what characterizes my life is that I'm very curious and I like learning things.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to improve myself, learn more, because you never know when certain random skills will become handy, right? It's just hard to tell. But more practically speaking, right now, I work full time.
Yep.
I'm hoping I can, leave my full time job at some point, help out with Hmongmentum and some other things. So there's work, and then in my free time, I have to do some stuff for the next HCON, to plan out some things, figure out various logistics, and then I do some e-commerce on the side.
Sure.
I'm just trying this, right?
Yep.
This is kind of going to what Jonathan said about just trying stuff, not being afraid to fail. So just starting a line of baby products. So like cute bibs, onesies. So I'm actually, my friend brought me a drawing tablet. I'm actually drawing stuff.
Wow. Okay.
So
That's awesome.
yeah, that's just what my time has been filled
Gotcha.
with right now.
Gotcha. That's great. I think what you guys, both your kind of answers were, you're trying a lot of stuff, right? And I think that's what a lot of young people, or just people in general, need to be able to do, because you'll never know unless you try.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you'll never know if you like it if you don't try.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
or
That's
you-
why I hate the question when people ask young people, like, "What do you want to be when you grow
Yeah.
up?" How are they gonna know what they want to be?
Yeah.
They've never
They've
done
never tried it.
Yeah.
That's why whenever people are like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to major in this or not, or
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to do that, I'm like, okay, go and ask somebody if you
Right.
can shadow them, or
Right.
go and get an internship there, or
Yeah.
go and work for free, and then just try it out, see if it's something you want to be able to do, and then you figure out if you like it or not, So I think, both your kind of mindsets, or what you guys are focused on, is kind of the right thing. We're all still young and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So at the end of the show, I like to be able to open up you guys to be able to ask a question of the day. So I'll let you both get one. So you guys can ask the audience. You guys can get like answers, for whatever you guys are. Like you always say, like be selfish with this question. Like what type of answer you guys want? What is kind of on your mind? What type of like market research you want from it? Go ahead.
Well, okay. This is really, this. Okay, this is. I didn't. Okay, here's the question I want to ask, right? And which is this: for you watching right now, and if you're a content creator or you want to be one, or you're obviously watching this because you're interested in this world, I want you to ask yourself this question honestly: who is waiting for you to just tell your story online or in person, and why haven't you done it, right? And I really hope you would think about that question, and I think once you are honest with that question, you're gonna I think discover a lot of interesting things. And so I'd love for you to reflect on that, and I'd love for you to you can comment or share your thoughts or reflection on that, because that's the question that drives me, that I ask myself all the time, which is, who is this one person on the other end of the phone, on the other end of the content, in the audience of HCON, that is waiting for me to just be a little courageous and step out and do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't even tell you how many people have said, I've been waiting for this to happen. And I just like, wow, that's mind-blowing. And that's why I want to tell you guys, who's waiting for you to create content, share your story. I promise you have something valuable to share to somebody. So who's waiting for you to just speak up and share your story?
For sure. Louis?
Oh, you kind of took what I was going to say. I was thinking something along the similar lines. For me, I would just take a look at, I would ask the viewers, what is your dream? Like, what is a really lofty goal that you have? And then I would ask, like, are you pursuing that? Are you going towards that direction? And if not, like, what's holding you back, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times, fear will hold you back. Understandable, right? We're creatures of comfort. We like certainty, stability. But for me, and I think Jonathan expressed this earlier, our imaginations are very overactive. They're always like, for example, when I had to someone asked me to give a presentation, kind of like an inspirational thing in front of a group of people. And I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, what if I go on the stage and I trip, I face plant, I break my nose or something?
Sure.
I mean, some of these fears are just going to be ridiculous.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think it's just good to take a hard look at those fears, and if they're actually, ask yourself if they're actually legitimate fears. They might just be, like not valid fears at all.
Yeah.
So that's just something that I have to go through, because I'm by nature kind of more of a shy person, more gripped by my fears. So that's something I have to fight against
Gotcha.
every day. So
Awesome. Well, great. Thanks for coming out, guys. I appreciate it, and I'm really excited to be at HCON and see your HCON manifest into what you guys want it to be, and
Yeah.
really excited for that, man. Thanks for coming out.